Today we will be looking at episode 3 of Dominato Batavorum / What if the Dutch Empire won WW4? The first event of this episode will be Brazil invading the Yucatan country. However, this will prove to be a huge mistake, and a major event will happen that starts a major war in the Americas. Just as Brazil starts its invasion, the Yucatan country joins the League of Freedom, causing every country in the alliance to join the war against Brazil. Initially, Brazil will do well. They invade most of Yucatan and start an invasion into Mexico. But then Mexican, Canadian and Carolinian troops reach the front line and the Brazilian military gets absolutely smashed back to South America. The Brazilians are still a very strong army though, and with the help of their allies they will be able to push back the forces of the League of Freedom. A few months after the war starts, we see the Americans making a landing in Venezuela. The battle is hard and both sides fought brilliantly, but the Americans managed to outclass the Brazilians and make some gains. The Mexicans will launch a new offensive aiming to capture all of Central America, which they will manage due to. Also, Indian and Chinese troops are starting to arrive, which is going to be crucial to turn the tide of war. The Brazilians managed to push back the naval landing, however the Mexicans now push into South America itself as Indian and Chinese troops outclass the Brazilians. Mostly Chinese and Indian forces make a naval landing in Ecuador. They take one major city, can capture the coast, while the Mexican and American front sea advances. Brazil is now seeing loss to all the three fronts. The Mexicans push further along the coast and move a little bit inland. The Chinese and Indians make advancements inland, and the Americans begin the march to the Brazilian capital. The march to Brazil's capital is long and hard for both sides. It's one of the deadliest events in WW4 history, costing hundreds of thousands of lives, but the Americans will win and Brazil's capital falls. The Americans will make another naval landing in Brazil. The goal is to capture more major cities and capitulate the Brazilian nation as quickly as possible. The League of Freedom will make great advancements on each side. The Chinese and the Americans will capture more territory in major cities, and Brazil is starting to face stability issues. The League of Freedom will fully invest into this naval landing. Troops from every country assist in pushing around the coast and capturing more major cities. The stability issues lead to a revolt down in what was the Green Country. This takes place in both Brazil and the Yellow Country. The League of Freedom meets up the naval landing with their original front, and due to this most of the Brazilian coast is occupied by the League of Freedom and Brazil begins to collapse. The rebellion of the Line Country will do very well, pushing into all the countries around them, while the League of Freedom pushes further inland and captures much more territory. Another rebellion will form in Brazil. An Orange Country will form and fight for its independence after Brazil invaded them. India will now make a naval landing, the Yellow Country. They capture two major cities and they aim to speed up this war. Now we see the total collapse of Brazil. The League of Freedom and the rebellions will occupy the Brazilian nation, and India expands their invasion of the Yellow Country. Now we see the collapse of the rest of the Circle Alliance. The League of Freedom has won this war, and South America has been mostly rid of fascism. We will now look at a peace treaty. So in the peace treaty we see the entire South American continent getting reshaped. Firstly, Central America, Ecuador, the dark green country, the Line Country, the Orange Country and the Venezuelan country will all return back to the world map. Next we see Peru, Uruguay and the red Chilean country getting a portion of the lands they lost, and lastly we see the creation of a gold country and a light pink country. Next we move over to the Central Asia. Here we see a pretty big alliance forming. However, this alliance was made for the purpose of invading and replacing the governments of the dictatorship countries on their border. The coalition has been mobilizing for a while, and the dictatorship countries were caught completely off guard. Each country involved will have their troops on the front, and it really shows by how fast the dictatorship countries fall. Now we will look at the peace treaty the square team draws up. Every square team country on the border of the dictatorship countries will take a portion of land out of the dictatorship countries. On top of this, the gray team will have a communist government, while the other two blue countries will turn into a democracy. Now we look to Iberia. Well, something big will happen that shakes up the course of history. The Parallelogram Alliance will launch an invasion into the Triangle Alliance. The West Africans will start invading the Green French team. The Parallelogram Alliance has been preparing for this invasion for over a year, and it shows. They storm through Catalonia and the Green French country, pushing them fully out of Iberia, and are only stopped when Dutch team forces arrive. The Libyan and Ethiopian navy will carry out naval bombings on the Greek coast, and Libyan troops will land in Greece and Turkey, quickly sweeping through until they are stopped by Greek forces. The Triangle Alliance will launch a counter-offensive in Iberia, making great gains, fully liberating Catalonia and almost doing the same in France. We see a similar counter-attack happening on the Greek front, where the Libyans are almost fully pushed out of Europe. However, the Europeans struggle to gain naval superiority, leading to coastal bombardments. Now we see a huge event happening in the old Iberian alliance. They will declare war on the Parallelogram Alliance, aiming to destroy the Gold Team and end the genocide. The Mesopotamians will start an advance into Egypt. They push into Libya and tan the puppet of the Gold Team's territory. In Arabia, the fascist nations will get blasted by the Diamond Alliance. Both countries get destroyed and the gold team gets pushed out of the region. Things will appear to get even worse for the fascists in Africa as the Trapezoid Alliance will declare war on the Parallelogram Alliance. The Africans are now completely surrounded by enemies. The Trapezoid Alliance will start an invasion of the gold team. They will do quite well as most of the gold team's troops are in Europe and defending against the Diamond Alliance. The troops of Libya and the gold team will launch an operation to push out the Diamond Alliance. This is mostly successful, but they are unable to fully push them out. The Triangle Alliance will continue to do very well in Iberia as the West Africans and Andalusians are almost fully kicked out of Triangle Team territory, while both parallelogram countries will see invasion. The Libyans and Gold Team will see continued success against the Diamond Alliance. They are fully pushed out and the Transjordan country is fully invaded and capitulates. This is a huge threat for the people of Mesopotamia. The Gold Team will also be successful against the Trapezoid Alliance. They are fully pushed out and the Gold Team makes surprisingly good gains against the Red Team and the Tanzanians. The Green country also makes moves into the Red and Light Blue country. The Triangle Team will continue to do very well in Iberia as they fully push out the West Africans and make very good advancements into both West Africa and Andalusia. The Mesopotamian front will be extremely hard for both sides. The Parallelogram Alliance have the military might, but the Mesopotamians have the fighting spirit and will keep going until the end. They managed to push back Libyan AMD Gold Team offensives. The Gold Team will see very good gains against the Trapezoid Alliance as the Red Team almost completely collapses. Tanzania is almost dead and the Light Blue country looks like it will collapse soon. West Africa and Andalusia will launch a great counter-offensive against the Triangle Alliance. They fully push them out of their territory and start an invasion of Triangle Team-controlled Iberia, almost fully capturing the peninsula. The Mesopotamian front will continue to be a struggle for both the Diamond and the Parallelogram Alliance. The front is very back and forth with the Libyans fully ending the Lebanon country but getting pushed back. Transjordan is almost fully liberated and loads more of Arabian people will join the military. The Trapezoid Alliance will also do similar to the Diamond Alliance. They do struggle, however they manage to push back the Parallelogram Alliance. They retake Tanzania's capital and save the Red and Light Blue countries from capitulating. That's going to do it for episode 3 of Dominato Batavorum. If you enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing and watch my other videos.